It's big, and I think we have the beginning of what I believe will be a trail of whistleblowers who are now coming forward to talk about what they know about a non-human intelligence that's been engaging with this planet for many, many years.
This is Houston. Say again, please. Houston, we've had a problem.
Higher UFO phenomenon.
Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here.
My name is John Ramirez, and I served in CIA from 1984 to 2009. I had a 25-year career, and it culminated in me receiving the Career Intelligence Medal for my service. An officer in the Office of the Chief Scientist and the Directorate of Science and Technology, and he said, there's going to be an interesting one-day symposium that you might want to attend.
Incredibly, even further, the fact that the United States government really is in possession of retrieved non-human technology. He's basically the guy, he's one of the guys who quite literally was involved in putting together the presidential daily briefing for the President of the United States. He was cleared so highly that he was given access to over 2,000 special access programs, because essentially he has put what he wants to talk about to the US Defense Department, and he has received approval from the US Defense Department to talk about what he reveals to both Leslie Kean and Ralph Blumenthal and myself. I've been able to confirm, and so have Leslie and Ralph, that Dave's allegations made in a secret hearing to the Inspector General of the intelligence community have been verified to be both urgent and credible.
It was stated that the McMinnville, Oregon UFO was an actual UFO. And the second topic was about alien DNA and CIA's interest in alien DNA since World War II. I surmised that maybe perhaps what was actually the secret of Roswell was, yes, there was a craft, and if it was just a craft, I think the government would readily disclose that.
Compartmented, top secret, cleared person, you are legally obliged to get anything that you want to publish checked by the Defense Department. There are things that are authorized in the DOPSA review by the Defense Department that are simply breathtaking. They are authorizing Dave to talk about historical crash retrievals. I'm talking about, well, I would call it alien, so would you, but the term they use is non-human intelligence.
Sure.
They're talking about non-human intelligence technology, NHI technology, and we're going to be hearing that term a lot.
Is he still in any danger of being, say, arrested?
Any whistleblower. I mean, I feel as an investigative journalist that the one thing that we always have to respect is the person who decides to come out from the shadows and speak publicly. It is the most courageous thing that any patriot, any public servant can do.
And yes, there were outer space beings on the craft. I think the government would disclose that eventually. But the fact that these beings had DNA that was found in the human genome, I think that is the actual secret of Roswell. I think that is a core secret of why the government will not talk about Roswell. Because to talk about Roswell, you will have to also talk about the occupants in the craft.
This is such protected information. It has been kept from the public, I think, improperly, illegally, and criminally. Criminal offences have been committed. Terrible things have been done in the name of national security to protect this secret.
That's a UFO.
Not a UFO. Those are flares, dude. Come on.
What? Listen. Huh? You hear them? You hear the A-10s?
Yeah, you can hear me.
They're from A-10s.
I think there are people who will go to jail if US law is heeded. I'm absolutely shocked by what's been revealed. I'm really quite shocked. In some cases, I'm scared about what I'm aware of. I think that the real story behind the Dave Grush decision to go with the debrief, the fact that it's not going in the Washington Post or the New York Times or CBS, ABC, NBC, is an indictment of mainstream investigative media. The failure of the American media to recognize that all this time, this has been a real story. It hasn't been a confabulation. It hasn't been an invention or a wacky tinfoil hat story. It's been reality. To hear Dave Grush say, as he does, that he knows that there's been a deliberate disinformation campaign against the American people to keep this secret from them is, in my book, shocking. And to hear the account that he gives of the crimes that have been committed, very, very serious crimes, and to know that media were approached in the making of this story by Leslie and Ralph to get this published in major newspapers. And you know what? They didn't get a spine. They failed horribly to recognize the significance of this story. And they allowed themselves to be led by their nose by people inside the Pentagon who are still trying to suppress this story. I've made stories with the New York Times and the Washington Post. I know how hard it is to get a story through those newspapers. And I am calling the New York Times and the Washington Post gutless cowards for their failure to follow this story up.
There's a whole fleet of them. Look on the ASA. My gosh. They're all going against the wind. The wind's 120 knots from the west. The whole thing, dude. That's not our LNS though, is it? It's not. That is an LNS, man. Well, if there's like a thing, it's rotating.
They've chosen cravenly to ignore a real story that the American public is demanding to know about, that Congress has mandated by legislation should be known about, and they have contrived in the conspiracy to cover this up.
One of the things you're going to learn in Ross's reporting is that it's a 90-year cover-up, not the one that we've been saying might be 80. It's a 90-plus year cover-up. I'm angry at the government for not being able to level with the people about this. I don't know what the ultimate truth is, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, but I know that we should have it.
Which tends to exacerbate the devotees they seem to suffer anyway from the environment. In fact, this year, the aliens beginning to flag. The interview was not going well. The telepath was trying to clarify some points from a previous interview, but he wasn't receiving coherent responses. As you can see, the being is in real distress.